it doesn't even exist to me anymore. I don't know how you feel about it, but it's just the strangest. I was telling someone it's almost like we go from event to event. It's like something happens. Oh, that's happening now. All the distractions in the collective reality. And part of the work is to be here with ourselves now. And that's where our power is. So we'll probably cover a little bit of that. But how are you doing?
I'm doing well today. It's been a couple of days in a row this week where it felt a little strange. The environment around me felt strange. It wasn't so much that I had any particular events that were occurring that were affecting me negatively, other than having some financial situation show up on one of my cards, my credit card, where someone had compromised it and started trying to purchase things on my card. So it was an interesting lesson on how people are struggling and doing whatever they can to survive, apparently, and that at the risk of causing other people problems when they have to go and solve the problem with their financial institution. But it was resolved quickly. I'm a member of a credit union, and so it was really nicely handled, and it went well here. I'm part of the community. And by the way, today on the Mayan calendar is Kablahuh Bats, and which is kind of interesting because Kablahuh, or 12, represents community, and it represents how we establish our kawak, or our gestalt, if you will, of the beings that we have in our lives and the people that we have in our lives, our family and our friends and so forth. And Bats, meaning it's the connection to everything, the thread of time that connects us all. So it's interesting how to use these Mayan teachings in our present day lives to look at what's really going on. We're all connected. We're all experiencing some of what's going on in our outer world, but we're also experiencing a lot of things that are changing within ourselves and noticing those kinds of changes too. I've had conversations recently with quite a few people that are having difficulty sleeping, waking up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning and then unable to go back to sleep. And it's interesting to watch that happen to a lot of people that I'm communicating with, and noticing when it happens to me, what is it I'm feeling and what's really going on in my mind. And so I think a lot of humans right now are just experiencing an awareness that something is shifting, something's changing. And so I think today being Kablahu Bat, it just kind of brings us back to, okay, how do we recognize what's happening in the world, and then how do we balance ourselves as quickly as possible so that we can resonate with the planet, but not be involved in all of the other things that we really don't have any control over.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's a good practice.
I'm doing well, actually. How are you doing?
It was quite an adjustment getting back to Washington after we were together last month, doing our work together at the Koyopa Center, where you sit now.
Yes.
And I experienced some invasive and aggressive TSA procedures at the Denver International Airport, and it was very surprising to me. It shook me up. I felt violated, but I applied the tools that I share with other people of just how to it's easy to go into victim mentality, like these people are doing this to me and I'm a victim.
Sure.
And it is on one level, but in order for me to to just
clean it up and move on without taking that with me. It's just, okay, duly noted, this happened. I don't have any past triggering and trauma that would keep me looping in that victim mentality. But it took me years and years to get to a place where I can, bring consciousness in. Sometimes it's quicker than other times. But I just thought that was really interesting, that, as I put on my Facebook page, like this, silver-haired terrorist, female silver-haired terrorist in their eyes, because what showed up on their screen was that I was packing something in my groin. So, I was like, what? Really? Anyway, so they did this invasive kind of search, and then when I got done with that, the other TSA agent had my computer bag waiting for me to search that, and I thought, I feel a bit targeted here, but anyway, moved on from that. That was an interesting transition back from Colorado to Washington. But I also want to say that energy is very heavy right now. I was just saying that it's like we're going to be pressed in until, we enter that present moment doorway where we can't run or be distracted anymore. It just brings you into, okay, here you are, and then you flip from outer consciousness to inner consciousness. Boom. And then you're able to access more of yourself with a capital S. You're able to access that connection through that doorway to source, as we were talking about in that last message. So I was just remembering that that's what that message was about, and here we are now. We're in this where it is definitely pressing in, and there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, kind of a feeling. So, but that's okay, because we have this inner connection, this dialogue with our creator or guides or angels, however we want to view who we're connecting with. Ultimately, we're connecting with ourselves, our greater selves that has been set aside for this conditioned experience. Yeah. So how have you been doing with the energies? How have you been doing with the vice?
Well, actually, the energy living here in the mountains, with deer walking by almost every 15 minutes, there's a different deer that walks by, and having horses nearby has really calmed my experience of life. It's made me feel more in touch with the natural world. I'm here with good clean air. I'm drinking good clean water that's coming from a well that's right at the base of Cuerno Verde Mountain, Greenhorn Mountain, and it's really helped me feel more balanced. However, I can definitely feel this weird energy that's it's prevalent more so when I drive in to the cities to buy groceries or whatever. And I can definitely feel the energy there. And then once I leave and start driving back up toward where I live in the mountains, I just start to become more and more calm and feel more balanced. And once I'm home and I walk through the front door and I can see that the horses are okay and that, everything is okay, I'm back to my normal calm self. I do feel also that, like you said earlier, that it's once you went through the TSA experience where you felt attacked, really, and it's an uncomfortable feeling that I don't know how many people have gone through what you went through. It's not that easy to come out of it very quickly. So I'm very proud of you for doing it as quickly as you did, because I talked with you later that evening to make sure you had arrived back at your home. Mm-hmm. And yet I also have felt that the skies haven't been, I haven't noticed as many chemtrails in the sky here lately that I used to see through the summertime. And every morning, if we watch the news and look for what's going on with the weather, there's an ongoing warning of fire danger because of the dry climate. So there's a constant bombardment, really, of information that's coming in that's creating fear.
Oh yeah.
In a lot of our lives, and I see it more in when I'm in the city, and I can feel it around me more. However, there's always going to be some sort of fear being pushed on us or projected toward us or shown on the news, et cetera, et cetera. And I really feel like that is one of the things that human beings have to learn how to deal with at this time, is to find that peace, that love within yourself as quickly as possible, so that you can get the fear out of the way, so you can feel who you really are as quickly as possible. So many of us are going through those kinds of experiences daily. Yours was with TSA, mine was with my financial institution calling me, asking me if I had made purchases, which I didn't make. And so it showed up in my financial realm. And one way or the other, there's this fear factor that comes up. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? You know, mm-hmm. If people are taking money out of my account and I don't even know what's happening.
Yeah,
that's fearful. So it's how quickly do we get back to this place of knowing that I'm okay, I'm here, and I choose peace, or I choose love, or I choose healing, and get back to that awareness that human beings are. We've given away a lot of our power. Now we're taking it back as we remember who we are and remember how to put it in the right position in the right places. So that's what I think a lot of us are being faced with, different examples of how being in the world has an effect on creating fear and concern.
Right. And it's like going back to that being in the world but not of it. You know, what that balance is, you know, we can notice whether it touches us personally, like the events we just spoke about and personally in our lives, or whether it's just that general fear vibration, anxiety vibration hanging in the air. We don't have to resonate with that. If we know what our frequency is, if we know, there's the fear frequency. If we know our own tones, right? If we know who we are, our heart energy, our connection to our guides, to our creator. If we can bring that back into our body and vibrate that, we can lift this resonant frequency out of the collective resonance, you know, that wants to pull us into it to distract us from the truth, right? And it's just increasing as we go. So the better that we can prepare ourselves for these times where the suggestion of fear will be getting louder. The suggestion of control will be getting louder. and I'm just drawing from the messages that have come in the past, and then the just drop in download messages that come in simply because I've practiced this for so many years that I can switch and start to receive guidance. But and we can talk about this, the tools that you and I use to bring ourselves back into present moment consciousness, where the doorway is. And this is also bringing ourselves into what is actual, what's happening right now. And even if it's ugly or painful, especially if it's ugly or painful, or gosh, that doesn't look or feel very spiritual, so we make a judgment or a comparison about, what a spiritual identity should look like, right? That's not going to help you. We don't need any more identities. We need to go to what's actually happening right here, right now. And even if it's, oh gosh, this is embarrassing because I'm, feeling this or that, and I shouldn't tell, I definitely don't tell other people, and I especially don't want to say it out loud because then it makes it more real. Well, bingo, making it real is where your doorway is. So to acknowledge, for me, it's acknowledging what's actual right now. This is what I'm actually feeling, and saying it out loud. This is my experience right now, and I am here, and I choose love, and and this is where the unceasing prayer starts to happen. Just start talking to your Creator. Just say, I'm here, and I want to know the truth, and I ask that you show to me or reveal to me what the truth is about this moment, what the truth is about who I am, and just stay there and stay neutral as much as possible. But there are, it's a practice, and it's something that I realize when I look at social media. Now I realize that everybody wants the quick fix. They think that they just do this, and this, and boom, you are transcending. Or if you follow some celebrity or politician and everything is about what that person says or does, and then you follow that, that is looking outside of yourself for your connection, and that is not the doorway. So I just want to remind people that, this is what I have to do on a daily basis, and many times during the day, because that's how heavy the energy is right now. I'm going to self-direct my own evolution through this. I am taking that opportunity because I know that I have this opportunity now to transcend this reality that is, I could talk for hours about where the intentions are for a lot of humanity. But that's for another time. So those are some tools that I use just in the moment, very, very simple. They can be expanded, or we can, or what I teach and what I taught when I was there last month, ways in which to keep this process moving and releasing, letting go, being conscious, unceasing prayer, to get through this doorway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me about your, you could start with what's a quick way that you get back into alignment, and or I'd like to talk more about your Eek breathing that you're doing at Koyopa Center too. So both of those things in the order that you feel comfortable unfolding it.
Okay. Well, just like Bodhi demonstrated just a few minutes ago by barking when he heard something that didn't sound like it was okay. I think we have to learn that that's one of the ancient teachings that we can use in our present day lives is to pay attention to that dog that barks within, or our instinct, let's say. Whenever we meet someone or we're in a situation that doesn't feel quite right, it's uncomfortable, that your instincts tell you ahead of time, your heart tells you ahead of time, something doesn't feel right. Or you meet a person and you can sense that there's something not quite comfortable in that relationship that you're establishing with that person, and just learning to trust that little dog that barks inside is one of the most important lessons that we can have learn from the ancient teachings and apply to our present day lives, is to trust your instincts, so that you know what you need to know when you need to know it, so that you can do what you need to do when you need to do it. And I think that's the critical part right now for a lot of us, is to learn to start trusting that part of ourselves. And you've mentioned before in a few of the messages that you brought through, and I've really been aware of the information there's a lot of really deep information in those messages that I start thinking about and applying. One of them is that trauma that's occurred in our past life, somehow from our childhood or even recently, traumatic experiences that are kept in our bodies, that hold on to, that fear actually holds on to that trauma. And how we have to release that trauma in order for us to start clearing out all of the unexplained expectations or kind of fears that we don't even know why we're afraid or what occurs that causes that fear to come up. And usually it's attached to some sort of trauma. And what I have learned lately in the last year to start using and applying in my own life is learning to breathe what we call in the Mayan teachings, IQ, in one of the glyphs, it's the mystical spiritual breath. And it's intentional work that we can start doing as we are in our office chair or wherever we happen to be. Start breathing, where we're connecting our breath to our heart and warming up that heart energy, and then moving that energy up into the brain area, head. But more importantly, just notice what it is that's causing fear and deal with maybe the issues that are bringing up that fear, and then breathe through it so that we can eliminate that trauma that's there somewhere. And that's been really powerful. And a lot of people have come back for more once they've tried what I call the hummingbird breath. Once they've tried the hummingbird breath, they return because it's helping them deal with some of the things that are going on in their lives. And that's really been incredible for me to watch with some people, how they say, wow, I didn't realize that I wasn't breathing correctly. I didn't realize that all I had to do was learn how to breathe and relax and breathe through things, that they actually start to feel better about a lot of things. So it's affecting a lot of their lives. And that's really encouraging. And so those two tools, the listening to the little dog that barks inside of you that tells you when something doesn't feel quite right or something doesn't sound right, and also learning to breathe in a way that we can breathe in good clean oxygen and breathe and exhale some of the things that we have to let go of. And so those two issues and are critical in life. I mean, we can't go very long without breathing, of course. And we really are always going to be having experiences come up where we really have to start trusting our instincts. So those two examples are two of the most important for me.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, the messages that you brought through about how we can start applying, how we can start remembering that we are divine beings, that we are these divine beings that are here on planet Earth experiencing all of the things that we're experiencing, and yet we have that internal connection, that doorway within, where we literally can connect to our source.
Yes.
And that is really, really important for us to start remembering. And so, again, your messages have really helped me remember that.
Thank you. Yes, well, that's what listening to you talk about the breathing and then having actually experienced it when I was there. Again, the point is the placement of our consciousness is to bring it into the present moment, and that's what the breathing does as well. What I experienced when you took me through that, I was actually kind of surprised with what happened for me. I didn't have any expectations at all, except, this is probably going to feel really calming and it'll feel good, and so. But what I experienced was this sense of centeredness and power. I felt like I could have done anything or directed anything or manifested anything. It was that kind of power that I was just connected to. And similar to when I connect with the presence in the ways that I was taught through my contact experiences and angelic communion, that it's an alignment that happened for me. And what I'm saying is that was really profound, and I was surprised that the breath could get me to that boom, I can do anything,
Yeah.
which was magnificent. So yeah, I recommend it for people because it's at least you can it's a tool where you can say, I intend to be more present with myself. I intend to even at the very least benefit my physical body and my brain heart connection, that and didn't you say something about it shifting the acidic levels in your body too? What does it do physically?
Well, as I said, you use a good word, and your intention is really a key to having using the breath work successfully. It's having an intention of what you really want to work on first, and then breathing until you get to that point where you can feel that connection to that intention, and that is really a critical part to having the breath work really become more and more effective. And as one begins to use breathing on a regular basis, it begins to change the blood cells from acidic to more alkaline. And anyone who's done any research on a healthy body knows that the less acidic the body is, and the more alkaline that body is, the healthier the body is. In fact, I think someone even said that disease cannot get established in a body that's alkaline. It doesn't work. It doesn't function in an alkaline environment. And that's what we are learning, is more and more about how important breathing is to changing the structure of the body, and then allows us to go inside and deal with traumatic events as they show up. To breathe through them and let them go. So that's, I think the healing aspect of it is really important. And I really believe that is, or I should say I know from watching other people that when they start breathing regularly, they begin to feel better, begin to feel stronger, they begin to feel more connected to their bodies. And assuming that the alkaline aspect of their body structure starts to show up more and less acidic, then any disease that may have shown up is going to be leaving, because it just can't exist where there is an alkaline environment. Much like you have said in one of your messages, which I just recently listened to, that it's difficult to have love where you have fear that exists. So you have to almost eliminate the fear before that connection with the love can be there. And they don't work well together. So you can't have one. You can't have fear and then have love at the same time. You have to eliminate the fear. Same kind of concept.
Right. Yeah, perfectly said. When that void is created and one is open to the love of the Creator, and there is first of all, there is the clearing out of all that doesn't resonate with love to the best of your ability, and to continue, as I said earlier, to just make this a daily practice, make this unceasing prayer, right? Mm-hmm. So that this vessel can open and receive the love of the universe, to receive the marriage of spirit and form, to activate the matter, to give birth to the truth of who we are, to give birth to our true nature, our original design is what this voice has always said, that this is who we actually are. We've been reduced by many different means, and from all fronts. We've been squished into a very small spectrum of consciousness, and then we're born into that spectrum, and we think this is life. And they're always saying, this is not life. We would like you to feel what life is. Please, will you open yourself up to this? And then, boom, you can reorient once you feel, oh, this is love. This is life. And I choose that. And I'm going to point myself in that direction, right? So intention is the most important part of any practice that you gravitate to, right? I mean, it's like, what do you want? Who are you and what do you want? Yeah, so it's an excellent way.
Yeah, I agree. And talking about love being so much more than what a lot of us think it is. We're conditioned to think that it's simply an emotional reaction to something physical in our 3D realm. Mm-hmm. And yet it's love, the energy, is actually a force that exists in the universe, apparently, and is at the root of everything that's created. And that is the understanding that it's so much more than what we've been conditioned to think it is. Right. And likewise, life is so much more than what we've been conditioned to think it is. It is more, and yet I also want to say that it doesn't have to be complicated. It's a very simple, life is very simple. And that's what I'm learning about living here in the Koyopa Center, is that my life is very simple here. And it's filled with animals and trees and mm-hmm. dogs barking and birds, and has a lot of hummingbirds, actually. More importantly, there's quite a few people around that are community. They're really interested in what's going on in the community, so we communicate back and forth mm-hmm. about one day the horses got out, and people were calling me saying, "Are those your horses that are down on Greenhorn Road?" And that's the whole thing. It's just letting people know what's really going on in the community, and that is an aspect of love that I really didn't really have a sense of for most of my life.
Yeah.
Now I understand that it's a big, powerful force that exists, and that it works in a lot of different ways with different people.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to say, about just to drive this point home about what we're doing is we're becoming aware of how we have been resonating with fear, just unconsciously, right? So we're just vibrating at that level, because the community that we have interacted with is vibrating at that level too, right?
Right.
So, when we welcome a new experience or a greater experience of love, and it's all 100% intention and attention, to keep showing up with that request, with that prayer. And then when you have that experience I just referenced of a greater, and you can have this out in nature. I mean, it's not that you have to okay, I'm waiting for my big experience. It's just live your life with that presence, and you will constantly attract through resonance that mirroring of the truth of who you are, and that includes your community, right?
Yes.
So we're choosing consciously, and what I call self-directed conscious evolution. This is what this intelligence taught me how to do over the years, and I'm just sharing it now. You're sharing it in your way. There are many, many, many healers on the planet now who came here specifically in this life to not just be some special, great and grand being. I am here to help the masses. No, you were born into it, and you had to. Okay, I won't cuss. You had to figure it out. You had to wake up yourself. Now, granted, I had a lot of help with the visitations and with, don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. You asked us to come and pester you if you started going back to sleep, and they did a great job of pestering me. But the point being that there aren't any big masters that we must fall to our knees and worship, spiritual teachers. We are all becoming that now. We are all stepping into that. And that's the big hurdle for a lot of people is, what? I'm not that. Yes, you are. Yes, you are that. That is the divine spark in everyone that's going to ignite once you say, you know what? I feel that, and I'm ready to welcome that, who I actually am, and my spiritual gifts that I've been stuffing or unconscious of because I've been resonating with the fear in me and then in the community I'm attracting. It's time to be bold. Just be bold, and break out of that, in a lot of ways, self-made prison, right? Because you're choosing it unconsciously.
Or consciously. Yeah, I think many of us are conscious about the way that we create our prisons. In fact, out of fear, we put bars on all of our windows and on our doors, and it's understandable in some neighborhoods, let's say. Yet, that is born out of that fear factor that it seems to be alive and well, especially now. How do we remove that, again, is another question. You mentioned something that I really feel is important to talk about. Talk about how you're resonating, that you're sending out this vibration, this resonance of who you are, and that we're all these amazing beings that are walking around in these physical bodies. And that information is constantly being sent out about who you really are.
Right.
And our universal, or our cosmic identity, let's say, is really being broadcast all the time from our core. And an example that I would like to give to the audience, if whoever's out there, is that I've noticed when you talk about doing a session with one of the people that come to you for assistance and looking at their lives and wanting to talk with you and want a full-blown soul reboot session, let's say, they first at times just give you a phone number and a name, and you are actually, before they ever arrive, before you ever talk to them, before you ever meet them, you tap in to this field of energy that's there, and you get information about what they need, what they want to learn, what they need to change, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm really impressed with that ability that you have to be able to tap into that. When people just give you their name and phone number, or sometimes it's an email looking for a session, and here's my name and here's my phone number, and I want a session on such and such a day, you're able to tap into who they really are, and then record information, and after the session, give them that information. And it usually blows their minds, because they don't know how could you possibly know all of this before I ever talked with you? And I think that's really important to talk about. It's because we're connected to this
field.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how it works. I don't get information about consensus reality. I don't get information about what's your next career and partner, and when's money going to get better and all that. That's tied to this bandwidth that we were talking about before. That's tied to the old construct. And I don't have information for you. So it's important that if you need that kind of information, there are lots of people who are really good at that. I am getting information about your soul and about what your initial intention was, not for the life you've lived up to now, but for what is your intention in this crossroads, right? Because this is, we all, those of us who are here now, we all managed to get, whatever our age. And remind me, I want to say something about the young people before we close this. We're all here in this intersection, and it's like, okay, you got here, congratulations, now what? And that's the part where I can help people, is now what? Who are you?
Yeah.
And, what is your natural resonance? What is your excitement? So that's what I do for people, and it's very rewarding. And not everybody gets excited about this kind of work, and that's okay, because it's kind of sometimes it can be blunt and like. Let's talk about your expanded self. And if people aren't able to find that self within them, like there's no threads that they can feel to that, then it just becomes, I guess I feel that a little bit, but I don't think I've been doing that. Or, so then it's just a matter of, well, perhaps you might want to explore that a little bit more and explore these things that it's pointing to, and let that fill you in, because you have the capacity to be filled in on your own. You don't need me to fill these aspects of yourself in for you.
Sure. Yeah, I think what you're saying is sometimes people don't want to hear the truth about what's really their plan to be here at this time, and what they came to do, and they're so busy doing other things in the 3D realm that they're not doing what they really came to do.
Yeah, and in some cases, yeah, you're right. In some cases, it's like I'm in the position of shaking somebody in a way, like saying, Remember, this is who you are. That's what my visitors did for me throughout my life as an experiencer. And it's not comfortable all the time. It was definitely very uncomfortable in a lot of ways, until I was able to realize that I was resonating in a very different space than where they were. And so I had over time to, meet them. And this is what's happening, I feel, in the UFO community, and that's just another whole big can of worms. But this is really what this non-human intelligence is emphasizing is it's time for you guys to wake up, and you wanted us to come here, and you wanted us to, tap you on the shoulder and be as gentle as possible. But in some cases, it's not possible to be super gentle. Sometimes we need a little bit of a shove, And what I wanted to, before I forget, I want to say something about, I just read this article about these new statistics are out with the suicide rates of 10 to 14-year-olds specifically.
Wow.
From 2007 to 2017, it went up 58% for this group. And, I just want to remind people that, and I think, this is in a passage in my book. It was one of the messages I brought through about the young people, and I think it was 2005 or 6 that I brought it through. And it was basically saying, and a lot of us already know this, the young people are coming in already, wired to source. It's like they already have this within them. But what the message was saying is, unless they see it in the outer world, it's going to get suppressed, and it's going to go, it's going to get buried within them to where they can't. So a little bit different from our generations. Our generations, we were born into this, and it's like, what? I have to go to school now? What? Okay. We were very malleable in that way. Like, just, for a lot of us, it was uncomfortable. It's like, this feels weird. I don't feel like I'm from here, kind of feeling. Because it wasn't as easy to settle in to the way things are. Never felt right to me, but I was such a good little girl that I followed the rules. But these young people, they already know that what we're looping in here is not healthy. It's not right. It's wrong. It's our responsibility, the older generations, to come online. Be very, very careful about criticizing these young people who are finding their voice. It's important for us to find our true voice and not keep regurgitating what we've been taught in this ridiculous, small bandwidth of consciousness. There's a mass mind manipulation, psyops control programs going on. And, I don't talk about this in detail because it's not important to talk about it at that level, but we just have to know that it's there. And here's how we know the truth. How do we know the truth? How do we know somebody's telling the truth? I have this solar plexus instinct. I have my, like you were talking about the barking dog earlier, it's like when I listen to someone's voice, I can tell whether they're lying or not. I can tell if they're part of the manipulation campaign. I can tell if they're jumping in and resonating with the manipulation, the negative manipulation campaign, but are unconscious of it. And I can tell when someone is coming from pure heart. And maybe all their facts aren't exactly right, or maybe the way they explain it could have been better sometimes. But that doesn't matter. There's pure heart essence coming through the voice of that human being, through their presence. That's how we know who is aligned with their own conscious awareness and who is not. So I can listen to someone who is speaking their truth and they're being honest and being present, and I can still disagree with something they say, I don't quite see it that way, but I want to listen because I can feel the heart of the person, and I want to engage with them, to explore, well, what do you mean by that? Because I don't see it quite that way, but I'd love to know how you got to that, or what you feel about that. So it's not polarized. What I'm talking about is what some people refer to as, the 5D approach to relationships and to, community. And how do we do this? How do we get along in the world? Well, it all comes back to our own awareness, self-awareness, right? And if we're resonating with pain and trauma from the past, we're going to resonate with that same pain and trauma and projection that other people are doing. Yeah. What they said and what they, So again, back to resonance with the pain and the fear rather than resonance with heart. Even though we might have misunderstandings or see things from different angles, which inevitably we will, right? At least we know that we're on the ground of love, of truth, of choosing choosing to go into it, to study it with consciousness, to examine it, to be willing to, oh, you see it that way. I never looked at it like that. Thank you for pointing me in that direction. Maybe that works for me, maybe it doesn't. But we're not arguing about it because we know that the basic foundational resonance is light. And it's not heavy, argumentative, hateful. Anytime you hear hate and judgment, pay attention. That's of a vibration that will suck you further into more pain, more fear, more control from your outer world.
I agree. I can't help but notice lately there's so many people that are using words like I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican or I'm da-da-da-da or I'm this, instead of saying I'm a human being.
Right.
And realizing that we're all in this suit together, and the only way that it's going to get better is for us all just to stop creating separation and start creating community. And that, for some reason, seems to scare some people. The fact that we want to create community that's healthy scares people. There's this ongoing program, let's say, that's been played over and over and over about how you have to determine whether you're with this political group or that political group or this religious group or that religious group. And the real argument is you have to choose which group you are, and then you got to fight the other group because they don't agree with us.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. We have to take the word fight out of our vocabulary, and we have to take a lot of other words out of our vocabularies as we describe ourselves, and get back to the basics. We're human beings wanting to do the right thing at the right time and the right places on planet Earth, and do everything we can to make planet Earth as healthy as it can be. And therefore, we're benefiting. All of us will benefit when Earth is healthy. Our water is clean, our air is clean, and we're not polluting our environment, then we're all going to be a lot happier.
We are choosing which world we're going to live in right now. And it's basically, if you're engaged with the lower vibrational polarized arguments and hatred and judgment, then that's where you're going to continue on and continue exploring those dynamics, right? For those who see this opportunity to essentially move into and resonate with the universal field, where there is no polarization, there is the knowing of the truth that sets you free. And maybe that sounds too esoteric for people, But in actuality, for me, practicing this consciousness and this awareness and then helping guide other people through it to wake up and to come back online. Basically, we're coming back. You're either going to go online with the universe and restore your natural state, or you're going to remain online with this darkness that will cycle back through, like I said, more of that. This has all been shown to me in my mind's eye. And it's not a punishment. It's not, the great and powerful Oz saying, well, you're not choosing to come online with the universe, so have fun, with more limitation or the exploration of denser realities. It's, you had, like in the Mayan calendar, right? That's what we're talking about, is this 26,000 year cycle that we're sitting at, where we have an opportunity to find that doorway within and to, some people call it ascension, but really it's just fully remembering and embodying the truth of who we are and engaging all of what we were designed to engage. And if we're not able to choose that consciously, if we're weighed down with too much fear and we just want to go with the crowd, that we find resonance with, then we have that option. That's all. It's our choice. And so it's, I guess I just talk about this a lot because it's so, I feel the urgency of it now. I feel this vice, knowing the astrological aspects in the heavens coming up in January, because it's very, very personal in my natal chart. It hits very, very personal aspects for me. So this is major for me. And so I'm doing everything I can. I'm speaking in anywhere that I'm invited. I want people to know how to access this doorway within themselves. And then I feel like, okay, I have done what I came to do. I can't explain the strange life I've had. I can't explain any of that to the 3D mind. But I do know completely in the larger context why this is important. And so I just want people to know and feel the love that they're connected with. And we're very much aligned in that way, in that, whether it was through the walking the Sacred Mayan Fire Path or, just exploring these messages together and applying it and just being open to be of service at this time. That's what it's all about now, is to just come online and be of service and help others. Let go of fear, transcend the fear, and rise to your highest level to just radiate and be all that you are. And then we can't even, they've said in the messages, you can't even imagine with your mindset now, it's not possible to imagine what life looks like once you're back online. It's so exquisite. I have felt it, like when I do sessions and I feel the souls of people. Sometimes I weep when I connect with them because it's like, oh my God, this being is so amazing and bright and light. And then I call them soul weaving sessions because I get exposure to their soul. And then I work with them, like, where are you now? How can we help weave this back into your being of the truth of who you are? And so that you can come online and then you can start helping a bunch of people remember this. See, that's how it works. We're all in this together. There's no special high beings that, it's not a hierarchy. We all have that very same divine spark within us. And how exciting that each of us has a piece of this massive awakening. And it's all equally important, right?
I love that. I love that concept of the weaving, because I recently did a talk here about, it's called Weaving the Tsute of Life. And the threads that we use to create our headdress, or our huipil, or our blouse, or our rugs, or whatever we decide we want to weave. Those threads are coming from our hearts. The colors we like, the movement of the thread through the fabric is who we really are. And I love that idea of you weaving the information of who they really are, and the remembering of who they really are, back into their life again for them, probably. Some of them are shocked at what you found about them. And they go, wow, I haven't thought about that for years, but thank you very much, because that's important,
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the reweaving of the creation of the new heaven and the new earth. And it really is about weaving it from the heart and letting go of all of the separation concepts and all of that, and recognizing that we're all part of the oneness. So, I love that.
Yes, a whole new ancient way of being.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's a beautiful way to wrap this up. But I just want to ask: is there anything that you want people to know about that you're doing upcoming?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I just decided that I would like to use this example of reweaving the Tsute of life, and use this as the example to remember that all of these little movements across the weaving are the movement of planet Earth as it's moving through space at 43,000 miles per hour, let's say. I'm not sure exactly what the speed of us traveling through space really is, but it's about remembering our connection to life and how we weave it. And what we put into this is our experiences. So the more positive and loving our experiences are, the more loving and positive the end results are going to be. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to do a class on that. I'll do a couple classes here in southern Colorado about that, because it all relates back to the oneness, understanding that when we create duality, that there's these issues that are going to start coming up that we have to think about. The aspects of forgiveness and compassion and how important that is as we weave it into the fabric also. And then remembering our balance and remembering who we are. Because that's what you just said, it's about remembering really what we came here to do and who we really are.
Who we really
and
are.
that is this thing that we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be going to talk like that, and I'll schedule it and I'll let you know.
Beautiful. And so how can people find out more about what you're doing?
They can go on my website at 11batz.com, and they'll find information about the sessions we're going to be doing, the group sessions and private sessions on Hummingbird Breath.
Wonderful. Great. And then the first part of December, I'm going to be back at the, Port Townsend Unity Church here in Washington to do shorter soul sessions for people for their fundraiser. And so that information is going to be on my website, which is koyoparising.com, KOYOPA rising.com.
Great.
Thank you for this conversation. I think that the quality of it was pixelated sometimes, but you know what? We're not trying to make this like slick or anything. It's not a slick production. It's more about the conversation. It's more about the dialogue. It's more about encouraging people through these times, these challenging times, right?
And thanks again for all that you do. I really appreciate all the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
It's an honor to know you.
Oh, feelings are mutual. Thank you. Okay, until next time.
All right. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.